I want to create a checkered design, but as a stroke. Instead of using it as a fill, I want this checkered design to be a stroke design. And I want this in Affinity Photo. So I'm just going to start with a shape. And this could be any shape, of course. I'm just going to go over here and select a circle. And you can see straight away I've got a stroke there. Well, let's just start right at the beginning and reduce it down to virtually nothing. And also the fill. If you want nothing in the fill, just simply click and you can set it this way. Just click there and then you've got no fill. So with the stroke, I can set it to 100 points. Actually, I can set it to more than that. If you push it too much, maybe 400, obviously it's ridiculous. Now I don't want that. 100 is fine. So with 100, what I can now do is apply an effect. Go to filters, down to colors, and down to procedural texture. Now checkered design is one of the presets. Really useful preset. Just go down there and you can see checkered. So as soon as it's done that, instead of being applied to the fill, it's applied to the stroke. That's great. That's what I want. I want this design. Now, unfortunately, you can't manipulate that checkered design. You can't make it rotate. It'd be really nice if you could, but unfortunately, there's probably some complicated equation change you could make, but probably a bit beyond me. So, say 70, say. So you can see now you've got that lovely checkered design all the way around your circle, and click apply. There's a problem. As soon as you've done that, you'll notice what happens. It turns into a pixel layer, which is not particularly what I want. It's fine. I mean, you can manipulate it with other filters now. You can apply all deforms, etc., etc. But I want to leave it as a live design. So let's undo. So back to an ellipse. So what's a better choice? Go to layer and down here, new live filter layer, and down to colors and procedural texture. Now, sadly, not all of the filters have made it into live filter layers. I would love to see them all, deform especially, but unfortunately not. So procedural texture. And what happens then, instead of completely turning it into a pixel, it keeps it, I just need to knock the mic over there, turns it into, obviously, this effect, but it's still a live ellipse, so you can still manipulate it. But obviously at the moment it hasn't got a preset, so let's just go down to presets and check it. And you can see then you get that. And again, you can do exactly the same, so say maybe 60, and you've got exactly the same effect. And I can close that. But also, because it's live, I can change it further, because I can now go up here and layers, make sure you select the ellipse if you want to change the stroke. So you might decide, well, actually I do want maybe something more than 100. I can go for 200. So 200 instead. Or maybe 50. You can change it. It's still live. It can still be modified. But also what you can do is you can decide over here. You've got various options for dashes as other settings here. So just click that one. So second one there. Third one, I suppose. So third one. And now I've got these dashes. Now at the moment you can't probably see much, but let's just change that a bit. And you can see as you change it, you get a bit more. And I just changed that. So you can actually see a bit of a gap. So that's the gap. That's the size there. So you can just increase that or decrease it. And you can still see you've got your procedural texture. Also, again, I can still manipulate that, but let's stop at that point. What I can now do is go over here, and I can also add a layer effect to it. So instead of just keeping it like flat, I can also go here, just click effects, and this is still live as well, so I can change this as well. Go to 3D, and then you can see you can add a radius there, and you've got this lovely sort of 3D effect applied all the way around to those checkered designs. Still, unfortunately, you can't rotate them. That would be nice. But also what you can do, you can go to outer shadow, maybe add a radius, offset, intensity. Now don't apply it to the procedural texture. Nothing will change. If you do that, no use whatsoever. Needs to be applied to this. So I've done that a few times where I've accidentally clicked effect, this one, and tried to do the procedural effect. Doesn't work particularly well. But what you can now do is you can change this. So you can decide, oh, you know what? I don't want it black and white. Well, it's fine, black and white. Nice sort of pop art, sort of 60s look. But you can also, at any point, just double click, bring this panel up. Let's just move it over a bit. And now I'm going to use the same equation. But you've got here R, G and B. Well, you don't have to use the same equation for all of them, and you can modify it. So just copy it, just Control-C, Command-C, etc. And then go down to this plus. And then you can go there and you can see you get 0 by default. And of course the thing's vanished because there's nothing there at the moment. It's still, so let's just set this all up correctly. And like that. I don't want that. Don't want that. I want that one, R, G, and B. Now, weirdly, you'll notice a problem. You've got this odd effect here. You think, oh, preserve. You think, wonder what's that? It's just tucked away at the top. You think, but it's useful because otherwise you will probably end up with this effect. And preserve alpha, you don't. So you've got that now, and it's back to exactly the same as it was before. But now you've got these, you can go over here, and now you could set up some parameters, perfectly reasonable. I normally do that. But what I'm going to do, instead I'm just going to go up here, and I'm going to put 2.4 times. That's an asterisk. So asterisk, and as soon as you do that, you now see you've got some colour kicking in there. Maybe with the RY there, just go to that one. That's for the green. So I've got red, green, and blue. That's for the green channel. That's for the blue. So I can just go 3.5. And you can get that effect. Or you can go to the RY and you can put 0.4 times. And so on. You can vary it in all kinds of ways. And you of course can modify this. So you can change that, maybe make it 43, 44. You don't have to keep it as 60. And close that. Of course, what you can then do, just a great little layer, you can duplicate layers. Now you can select the whole layer there and just go to layer and down to duplicate. Got that on top. What you can then do is span them out. Now you can vary this one. So you could go to this ellipse. So select that one. Just change the settings. Don't have to go with 50. Maybe go for smaller. And you can see as you vary it, you can create different designs that way. Or maybe keep it the same. Or maybe vary these settings down the bottom. Perfectly reasonable. But also what you can do is you can rotate it. Don't have to have it over. You can actually just rotate it a bit. Or undo that. You can also go over here to procedural texture and have different settings. They're not the same. So this one is different from, if you expand it out, just drag that down, you can see that one. So message just comes through then. Okay, double click that and you get this. And you can modify it. So go for 2.1 or maybe, let's go for this one, RX, something like 1.4 and so on. You can just vary it, just subtle variations. Maybe 3.5 times. And once you've done that, maybe modify this as well. Square count. Now, no point changing that. Tempting to do it. That's not going to help. So close that and then go back to this one. And now you've got normal here. Well, instead of normal, I can go through lighten and you can see what happens. You can create some really, truly unusual combinations of designs simply by that. And obviously that would be very tricky to do in the procedural texture itself, to actually create an equation that creates something like that. It's probably achievable, but not particularly as straightforward as just doing it by combining. Also, I can remove that one. With this selected, if you've got 2.3, what you can do, just press return. If you've got the move tool selected, that key thing needs to be the move tool. Quite often I press return, nothing happens. I think, oh, haven't selected that, so press return, and then you'll get the move and duplicate. And now what I can do, I can turn around and say scale. I can also set duplicate, so click that and scale, and you can see it reduce it down. Number of copies, I can increase that, and you can see you can create a variety of different effects. Now, not always perhaps what you want. So you might like to click on here, go here. This is another option, scale with object. So click that. More useful when you do go with that move. So go here. Again, make certain that's selected. You don't want to select that one. Might be interesting as well. But still, press return and then go here. I must stop these messages. Now if you go over here and set the scale, let's just reduce that down. Duplicate and increase duplicate, and you can see the effect is much better, more controlled. And also you modify that rotation, but unfortunately you can see one problem with this. Unfortunately the procedural texture itself doesn't rotate, move, etc. It'd be nice if it did, but it doesn't. I've never worked a way of doing that. Maybe there is a way of doing it. I don't know of a way of doing it. And then click OK. All it does is creates multiple layers, all with this procedural texture. And of course, what you can do then is you can at any point just go in any of them individually and change them. So you can always modify those. So you've got this design. And of course, once you've got this design, what I always like to do is generally don't keep it like that. Select them all and I can then merge them. So layer and just, oh, they're all there, merge visible. Let's just merge them all into one. And then you've got this pixel layer. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't mean you have to, if you want to, just get rid of all the others. Now, of course, as a solid, total one layer, what you can do, you can apply some filter effects to that as well, if you want to modify it further. But I think this is exactly what I wanted. Nice, colourful, checkered design that's got a nice rotation. And, well, that is my end point. I love Photoshop, but one thing with Photoshop is you can't select all the layers and change a variety of things. For some weird reason, that doesn't seem to be available, but Affinity Photo does. Really, really useful. So I've selected all the layers here. Now this, obviously, I've gone back to all the layers. So with them all selected, I can now go over here and long as I select this, just go here to the shape tool. You can see now you've got exact same settings, 12.4. I can click on this and I can change this. And as I change it, they all change. And you can see you can create, though sometimes a bit of a mess, you can, of course, vary it in all kinds of ways. Also, what you can do, of course, you can always go back to solid and create that. And you can see, create that sort of design. Again, all of them will change at the same time. Now, unfortunately, it's not going to be possible to do all these procedural textures. I suppose you could select them all individually, hold down the shift, and that unfortunately you can't change them all. That would be a really nice feature if you could do that. In fact, let's try it. So how would you do it? I don't know. In fact, procedural texture, no, it's just not going to do it. So you have to actually, unfortunately, manually change all of them. That would be a nice addition, even better feature. But I think Affinity Photo is so much more flexible when it comes to changing various things, multiple items. You can, if you want, let's just go there, select all of the layers. With all layers, you can actually select this, the effects, just down the bottom. And with that selected, the FX just there. What you can do, you can turn around and say, I don't want the 3D effect. You can always remove that. Or you can click on the outer shadow and change the outer shadow for all of them, which I think is a really great, very useful feature. Something at least you don't have to do them individually, which is quite cumbersome. Well, hope you found this tutorial of interest. Any questions, please let me know in the comments below. Also, what other videos would you like to see about procedural texture, about the effects, things like changing the colours, alpha channels, those sort of things? Please let me know in the comments. Always great to hear from you. A like or dislike, always appreciated. And also please subscribe. Always adding new videos about Affinity Photo, Affinity Designer, as well as Photoshop occasionally. Though obviously, for some weird reason, Photoshop does not seem to have as much enthusiasm as before. And also, goodbye.